Hello and welcome to the first installment of Worst to Best Albums. Today I'll be ranking the studio discography of neo-prog legends Marillion. There are 19 studio albums, and I will also be including Less is More and With Friends from the Orchestra. Let's dive right into my least favorite album.
I was born in 1960.
Coming in at number 19 is Less is More, released in 2009. I like some of the reinterpretations on this album that the band did with some of these songs. For example, on Hard as Love, I like how optimistic it sounds as opposed to the original. And I like how on The Space, how jazzy it is. And the rap section during Quartz is very melancholic. And even though I like these reinterpretations, I do feel like this album is a bit redundant. And there is also a song that was previously unreleased called It's Not Your Fault, which, in my opinion, is a bit boring. At number 18, we have With Friends from the Orchestra. This album was released in 2019, and this album, the reason why it's placed where it is because it has no original material. And it's an album where the band plays with an orchestra. And I feel that the orchestra really adorns the music because Marillion's music, I feel like, was made for an orchestra. It's just very orchestral in their arrangements. And I feel like the selection of songs is really good. I really love the intro to Estonia, which just opens the album up beautifully. And I will say, I think they should have included Neverland on this album because I feel like that album, or that song would sound beautiful with an orchestra, and I'm really glad that they did include that song when they played it live. Coming in at number 17 is Somewhere Else, released in 2007. Overall, the tracks are okay on this album, except for the fact that they all lack energy, in my opinion. However, I will say I love the climactic ending to the title track, Somewhere Else. And my favorite tracks off of this album have to be the title track, The Wound I quite like, and Faith, which reminds me a lot of Blackbird, of course, by the Beatles. Coming in at number 16 is Fear, which was released in 2016. This is the band's most recent album, and it's a very political album. There are 3 epic-length tracks off this album: El Dorado, which is 17 minutes, The Leavers, which is 19 minutes, and The New Kings, which is 17 minutes. And even the shorter tracks are quite long as well. White Paper is 7 minutes, and Living in Fear is 6 minutes. And I have to say, One Tonight, which ends The Leavers, is such a majestic ending to that track, and The Leavers is my favorite song off of the album. Overall, I think the material is a bit weak for Marillion's standard, but it's still not a bad album. Coming in at number 15 is Anarachnophobia. This was the first crowd-funded album that the band did, and if you didn't know, Marillion basically pioneered crowdfunding and pre-ordering. For me, this is a bit of an average album. There's only a handful of tracks that I could say I enjoy somewhat, and I would say that Quartz reminds me a lot of Digging in the Dirt by Peter Gabriel, and I love that song, so that's a good thing in my opinion. And This is the 21st Century, I think, is one of Marillion's absolute best songs. I love the drum beat, I love Steve Rothery's Snake Charmer guitar solo, and I love the lyrics as well. Steve Hogarth's lyrics are just so foreboding and dark. And that has to be my favorite track of the album. This is the 21st Century. Coming in at number 14 is Sounds That Can't Be Made. Gaza, which opens up the album, is an overtly political song, and it's 17 minutes long, so it's quite epic. And I'm not a big fan of some of the lyrics. However, I will say that some of Marillion's heaviest moments are captured on this song. And my favorite song on the entire album actually has to be Sky Above the Rain, which I just find to be absolutely gorgeous.
She's like a girl in the movie when the slipper falls.
Coming in at number 13 is Holidays in Eden. Now this album, the band were trying to reach out to a wider audience, it seemed like, and a lot of this album reminds me of kind of Mike and the Mechanics and just how it sounds, which makes sense actually because the producer was Christopher Neal. Splintering Heart is an incredible opener and it plays a lot with dynamic contrast, and Steve Rothery's soloing on this song as well as 100 Nights is incredible, and This Town, The Rake's Progress, and 100 Nights, which close off the album, are basically one song, and it's quite amazing. My favorite tracks have to be Splintering Heart, This Town, The Rake's Progress, 100 Nights, and Holidays in Eden. Coming in at number 12 is Marillion.com. This album, I really enjoyed the trumpet soloing on House. It reminds me a lot of Miles Davis. And Interior Lulu, which is the obligatory epic on the album, is quite good. I really enjoyed that. As well as a Legacy, which opens up the album, and Go, and Tumble Down the Years is very, very nice. I really enjoyed that track. Coming in at number 11 is This Strange Engine. There are influences of samba music on the track Hope for the Future, which I'm not too big of a fan of, but I do love Man of a Thousand Faces is great. The crescendo towards the end is amazing. Estonia is really beautiful, and This Strange Engine is one of Marillion's best epics ever, in my opinion. Coming in at number 10 is Happiness is the Road. This is a double album, and honestly I think it would have worked better as a single album, but my favorite songs off of it have to be Essence, Happiness is the Road, the title track, and Real Tears for Sale. Coming in at number 9 is Fugazi. This is the first album to feature Ian Mosley on drums, and he's a fantastic drummer. This seemed to be a difficult album for the band to write, but nevertheless it still has some great songs off of it. Sassing is amazing, Fugazi, the title track, is great, and Incubus has some fantastic drumming on it by Ian Mosley. Coming in at number 8 is Radiation. In my opinion, this is Marillion's most underrated album. It has some fantastic songs off of it. A Few Words for the Dead, 3 Minute Boy, and Cathedral Wall are my favorites off of this album. Coming in at number 7 is Season's End. This is the first album with Steve Hogarth on vocals. The King of Sunset Town is a brilliant opener. I love the long crescendo in the beginning. My favorite tracks off of this album have to be Easter, The King of Sunset Town, Season's End, and of course, The Space. Coming in at number 6 is Strip for a Jester's Tear. This, in my opinion, is one of the best debut albums of any band ever, and it's the only album to feature Mick Pointer on drums. In my opinion, every single track is amazing, but my absolute favorite tracks have to be Script for a Jester's Tear, Chelsea Monday, Forgotten Sons, and Garden Party. Coming in at number 5 is Misplaced Childhood. This was the band's most successful album. It captures the perfect balance between pop and prog, in my opinion. And this album is what introduced me to Marillion, so I have a soft spot for it. My favorite tracks are basically all of them, but my absolute favorite track has to be Blind Curve. Coming in at number 4 is Clutching at Straws. This is the last album with Fish, or Derek Dick, on vocals. And in my opinion, it's, well, my favorite of the Fish era albums. My favorite tracks have to be Incommunicado, Slanj Mahaz, White Russian, Sugar Mice, Warm Wet Circles, Hotel Hobbies, and That Time of the Night. Coming in at number 3 is Marbles. Now, every album in my top 3 was my number 1 at one point, so I think that should go to show that each of these albums are pretty much interchangeable and aren't separated by much. But yeah, my number 3 is Marbles. I love the various Marbles tracks dispersed throughout the album. This is the only album by Marillion I physically own, and Neverland is Marillion's most beautiful track in my opinion. And my favorite tracks have to be The Invisible Man, Fantastic Place, You're Gone, and Neverland. Coming in at number 2 is Afraid of Sunlight. Now, this album was released not too long after the release of Brave, and there's just a certain energy about it that I really enjoy. It's a concept album about fame and celebrity, and there are references to O.J. Simpson, Elvis Presley, Kurt Cobain, and Michael Jackson. I enjoyed the Beach Boys pastiche that is Cannibal Surf Babe, and Out of This World is a gorgeous track that's dedicated to Donald Campbell, who died during a water speed record attempt. And Afraid of Sunlight and King are very dynamic pieces that I really enjoy off of this album. Overall, my favorite tracks have to be Gazpacho, Out of This World, Afraid of Sunlight, and King. Coming in at number 1 is Brave. Now, Brave is a concept album about a young woman who throws herself off of the Severn Bridge. And this album has such gravitas that is definitely captured not only in the studio but also live. There's just this darkness and solemnity about this album that you don't really get with many albums, and it's easily one of the darkest albums I've ever listened to in my entire life. And I think it deserves to be regarded as one of the absolute best concept albums of all time, and I think it deserves to be ranked as highly as The Wall and Sgt. Pepper's and Tommy and all those concept albums, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. And Steve Rothery's, some of his best guitar playing in my opinion is on this album. I've watched excerpts of the film for this album, and it looks terrible, but this is truly neo-prog at its finest in my opinion, and some of my favorite tracks have to be Living with a Big Lie, Runaway, Goodbye to All That, The Hollow Man, Alone Again in the Lap of Luxury, the title track, and of course, The Great Escape. So that is my worst to best video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, definitely click that like button and subscribe for more content in the future. I'm hoping to do more worst to best videos, including for bands like Genesis, King Crimson, Pink Floyd, Peter Gabriel, all those people. And I also plan on doing top 10 videos and hopefully reviews for upcoming albums, including the new Marillion album, which is hopefully going to come out in the spring. I pre-ordered it, my name is in the credits, and I also have it signed, which is awesome. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, and I hope you all enjoyed the video.